Hey everyone, Matron here, bringing you another StarCraft 2 commentary. This time, Game 3, this deciding game in the best-of-3 series between Root QXE, spawning as the Blue Terran, and Liquid HuK, spawning as the Red Protoss. This is losers bracket action in the MLG Dallas National Championships, both players looking to move on in the losers bracket and eventually make it to the Grand Finals. See HuK mentioning the base trade that they had in that last game, and QXE admitting it was a bad decision for him to attack HuK rather than defend his natural. So after an epic first game with a lot of pressure from QXE on Xel'Naga Caverns and eventually a great drop, knocking out the production structures of HuK, QXE was able to take that first game, and then HuK able to come back in that second game and even up the series. These players have quite the history, meeting in New York at the IEM Comic-Con. They had another epic game on Scrap Station, almost a 40-minute game, and then they're quite friendly practice partners as well. I brought a QXE versus HuK game earlier on my channel, YouTube, Matron StarCraft, just this past week. Pretty good one on Steps of War as well, over 30 minutes on that one. So some pretty long and great games from these two players, so they bring out the best in each other. HuK was able to end the last one quickly. We'll see whether he opens up a little more standard than he did the first game, kind of mirroring what he did in that second game. In the first game, he went for a fast robotics facility, opening up gateway into cybernetics core, and then immediately into robotics facility, not even getting out a stalker or warp gate tech. And the initial lack of units out of those unit producing structures for him, just the one gateway, eventually led to QXE able to establish some early pressure and throw down a bunker to bottle up HuK a little bit. QXE was able to get that expansion up and running, and for the rest of the game was just able to dictate the pace of the game. So HuK moving in with this probe here. We'll see how much damage. It looks like he's gotten a few SCVs down to about half health here. That is helpful if he ever wants to move in with a Zealot, but no, losing control of that probe there. He was pinched a little bit against that refinery. You saw first he tried to move out, and then he tried to use the mineral trick where you right click on a mineral, your probe will path through anything on any units on the map and go right for that mineral, but QXE was able to clean it up, and HuK's gotta hate losing that initial probe, as you want to put that probe on the watchtower eventually. Looks like he is going to take out another probe, so that's going to cost him a bit of mining here early in the game, getting down 2 gas. Looks like he's getting out an early Zealot, so interesting play from HuK. This is not something we've seen in the first 2 games. Getting down a pylon, going to trap that SCV, also going to be able to hide some tech back there as well. Do not yet see the cybernetics core getting that warp gate tech out yet. Looks like instead he's going to get the stalker first, and now finally the warp gate tech. He's got a good position on this pylon here, going to be able to warp in units again on the low ground, cut the distance that the units really have to walk here. Instead of down the ramp and all the way around, they can start right here and get right into QXE's base early on. QXE starting with those 2 barracks like he has both games so far, and about to finish the concussive shell. He has pushed out with some early aggression. He's going to probably take this watchtower, as Liquid HuK does have control of it. He sees those units coming, does not want to lose another probe. Still following this SCV around with the Zealot, finally does have the Stalker out as well. So we now may see a confrontation between the probe, SCV, and these units out of the gateways and barracks. They are going to be able to focus down this Zealot here with that concussive shell. HuK was able to clean up that SCV though, but now must get into his base and might need a force field here, as he does not have much in the way of units. Looks like he's getting down, hiding his gateway, spreading him all around his base. He's going to be on 3 gates. QXE, if he pushes up the ramp, is going to like what he sees, especially with these reinforcing units. He's about to have 3 Marines and 3 Marauders. They're going to be very good against the Sentry and Stalker here. So HuK's going to have to throw down that force field. He's got to be hoping QXE does not push up at this moment. Trying to get out as many Sentries and Stalkers here. He's going to have to block off this ramp if QXE pushes up here. Is getting out 4 warp gates, so QXE knows everything that HuK has right now. QXE getting up a command center, so hopefully making this a longer game, getting out a second barracks as well. He did put pressure on the front door of HuK, so HuK may be feeling it and maybe being a little bit defensive, but no, he's going to pull back and get his own Nexus as well. Now warping in units as that warp gate tech has finished, getting our robotics facility as well. HuK really loves the observers. He likes to pump out multiple ones throughout the game. Now we see him moving out with these sentries and stalkers. If he's able to split the units of QXE here with those sentries, which is not something we've seen early on in these two games so far, he may be able to have some success with the smaller army. Now getting out even more sentries. So we see 5 sentries on the field. That's going to be a lot of force fields. See, a few sentries have enough for 2 force fields right now. QXE sees this. He's got to get up to the high ground here with some of his units. HuK will not have vision up there until he gets out the first observer. This robotics facility is done. See, he has not gotten out the observer yet. He does not have enough gas to. So it looks like pushing out all those sentries and made the observer a little bit far behind. Now getting out a robotics bay to go with that facility. So going for Colossi against the Marine Marauder bunch of QXE here. QXE's natural did finish a little bit before HuK's, so he's going to have a bit of an advantage. Could push out more army here. Now doing a transfer over this natural. If we look at the army tab, 1150 to 700 in favor of the Terran player. HuK now working on these destructible rocks. If we look at the income tab, only 27 harvesters for QXE, so he might have been cutting harvesters just a little bit, trying to push out units for that early attack, which he eventually had to pull back from. He is now sending a barracks over, which is very interesting. Usually people will send over the factory rather than the barracks. This barracks is going to be useful here. Could be pumping out more units. Factory may be preparing a reactor. He does have the minerals for it. Not really sure why he's not right now. Also needs to be working on some supply depots as he's about to be supply capped at 62. Looks like no supply depot coming for him. Not really sure about this. Pulling back with his barracks. Not sure about the decision making there for QXE. Never want to lose a unit producing structure you will actually use. The factory in this MMM build is not important. You can pull back and perhaps try to repair this. QXE is going to have these 2 SCVs. Going to try to ward away this stalker here with his army. He may be able to save this barracks if he can get some SCVs to it in time. But really question, maybe he made a mistake there and thought he was lifting off the barracks. Maybe he wanted to scout earlier and the barracks or the factory was not done yet. So now going to scan ahead, going to check and make sure the units are not waiting for him here. QXE, both players just taking these watchtowers. Bit of a stalemate right now, macroing up these armies. We do see the Colossus coming out as well as the extended thermal lance for HuK right now. He has 1 Colossus on the field working on a second. Does have an observer. He's going to be able to spot the army of QXE here. Once this extended thermal lance finishes, it's going to be so powerful with this terrain. We see a defensive stim running away back to this bunker. The missile turret is going to do good work against the Colossus if it gets too close here. And also this observer going to be able to take down that observer. So the high ground is going to be able to be seen by HuK here because of this Colossus, but if he's able to focus down that Colossus, he could position some units up here for defense. Looks like we have a drop in the back door of HuK here. Going to be taking down a number of these probes, doing as much damage as he can before this Colossus comes in. So QXE doing a little bit of economic damage as we see the saturation of HuK is not so great now. Probably lost about 8 probes there. So QXE really uses those drops to actually defend his base. As soon as he sees the aggression of HuK move out, he's going to use those drops and drop in the back of HuK's base and really force him to get thrown off his attack, warp in units back in his base, rally the Colossi into his base instead of at the front of QXE's base. Now we're going to see a huge push in here by HuK. He does have the tech advantage. He has the force field advantage, going to keep these units at the back. They're only going to be able to shoot zealots right now. So cleaning up a lot of these units, 9 range on these Colossi, going to be able to take down all of the Marines and the Marauders in the back. Force fields keeping these units on the high ground here. 1 Viking is not going to be enough to take down these Colossi. Just the initial shields down for this first Colossi. Stalker is going to be taking down these Vikings, and HuK is going to be able to push in here and take down this orbital command. And that might have to be GG from QXE here. He only has 400 minerals worth of army compared to the 2400 of HuK. So QXE wanted to get into a longer game, more drop-centric, like he did in the first time. the first game on Xel'Naga Caverns there, but HuK was able to force the action at the front door of QXC, going off a more traditional 4 warp gate into robotics facility and robotics bay, eventually using those Colossi to push back, as well as the number of force fields he had, all those sentries, trapping the units behind the force fields here. QXC attempting another drop up here to try to relieve some of the pressure from his front door, but just too little, too late. With these positions, I'd like to see maybe some more drops earlier on, but he was pushing out more and more units to try to apply early pressure. He did not get this starport up quite in time to do those drops that we'd like to see from him. So a good series here, great first game, and some good response from HuK, shortening the games in the second and third game here. Just quite powerful push with those Colossus. So HuK is going to move on in this losers round action. He's going to move on, take on his next opponent, hopefully get into the losers bracket finals and eventually the grand finals of this MLG Dallas. So hopefully you enjoyed this series. It was quite a fun one to cast, a lot of action to keep up with, and I'll try to bring you more QXC vs HuK action, as they seem to bring out the best of each other in any future tournaments or practice games I can find. As always, if you're looking for more MLG action, you can find it at my channel, MatronStarcraft at YouTube.com. So check that out, leave some comments, tell me how you think the players did, how you think I did commentating. I did miss a few drops here, so apologize for that, but it looks like they weren't doing as much damage as in the first game. So great game, thanks for watching, I'll see you next time.